Hi guys, Andrea Unga here. Today I'm here with Francesco. Ciao Francesco.
Hello everyone.
Francesco is here. We both, I prefer to be alone. You will discover soon why, but we will talk to you about our performance in 2020. It was a strange year. You know, we had an incredible crash in early March, and then on to April and so on. Incredible moves. Did we survive trading, speaking these moves? Yes, we are here. Why and how? This is what we want to show. First of all, Francesco, you have prepared some slides.
Yes, correct.
I can show you. So here we go. This is a very nice sheet. We see an outstanding 71.32%, which is an incredible result. You know, when I talk about standard performance we can expect, and you know that this is something that is really, really incredible. The equity line, the blue line you see there, is also an incredible, nice line. You can see the green line is the SPY, so it's a benchmark, and you see how actually during the big crash, the blue line did not move at all, more or less. What is bad in this slide? The bad thing is the name, the top corner left, of the owner of the account, which is Francesco Placci. This means this is not my performance, it's Francesco's. And mine is obviously worse than this, because if not, I would not be this angry. Francesco, good performance, more or less zero drawdown, and great end of the year.
Yeah.
What can you tell more about this?
It has been a very amazing year, talking about trading, obviously, and it is quite surprising because, you know, when the market goes crazy, it is difficult to stay calm and continue your activity, your trading activity. And this is obviously not the normal, because when I achieve 20%, I more than satisfied. But this year, due to the high volatility of the markets, probably trading system which needs volatility has been able to achieve a very great performance. And I have to admit that a great part of this performance is due to the Bitcoin future, which I started trading about near April, more or less. And you know, cryptocurrency this year, I think the performance of the Bit future has been around more than 20%, 200%. Sorry,
100%, more or less, yes.
Yeah, more or less. And this is obviously allowed me to achieve this performance, and I'm obviously quite satisfied of this. And the main aspect that satisfied me is the drawdown, because, you know, becoming older, I'm less.
Yes, 6%, around 6% maximum drawdown, which is great. But how was it possible to see such a quiet shape in March, April?
Yeah, I have to admit that I take a pause in trading. I lived active only few trading system, because I was a bit scared about the situation. You know, it was so.
It is funny because it's the same I did. I will tell you later about this.
Okay. And this is a wrong decision, as you know, because in this period, trading systems, and especially mean reverting trading system on the S&P achieved very, very important performances. And obviously this was a mistake, but you know, the emotional part of each trader, you have to manage this part. And I probably did wrong, but you know, also the mental aspect is important in trading. So
Yeah.
I decide to stay more calm, to to live more comfortably, and I decide to reduce my exposure in trading during that period.
If you show the next slide, you can see my equity line, and here it is. Well, first of all, 40.26%. This is, if Francesco were not here, it would have been a great performance. But now with Francesco, he's 70%. This is peanuts. So I'm the weak one, but I'm happy because I'm a friend of Francesco, of course. In any case, similar to Francesco, you can see that March, more or less, is with no moves at all. Francesco reduced his activity. I stopped completely. I switched all systems off because I was afraid of the situation. It was a discretionary decision, which should be avoided by us as systematic traders. But considering that our systems follow the behavior of the markets and seeing markets going crazy, I believed that the behavior would not keep on being the same. I believed that the markets would move in a completely different way from what we could expect. And what we could expect is somehow written in the scripts of our systems. So I switched it off. I was able to sleep at night. But next slide shows you through our software Titan what the systems would have achieved normally with all systems active. Well, this is starting from 2019, so it's 2 years, so don't look at that. But you see there, January, oh, exactly, this is January, and here you see a big run to the upside. And this is exactly when I was not trading. It's a smart decision, isn't it? I must admit, and the same, Francesco, because
yes,
he mentioned the same. We left a lot of money on the table. I don't really regret this because, again, I had a positive year. I'm happy with it, and I was able to sleep at night during a period where I would have had serious trouble if my systems were trading, because you all know what the markets were doing. Of course, seeing how much money I left on the table is disappointing. But if I made no money at the end of the year, I could maybe regret more. Having closed at 40%, I'm happy. Okay, I'm happy in spite of this wrong decision. Good news is that my systems and also Francesco's were doing well. So this is obviously a positive news for a systematic trader, which means that the systems were in any case responding properly to the markets. You remember in past years, I more than once mentioned that the markets which show a greater degree of stability for the systems are the big bonds and mini S&P. Sometimes I was even tempted to trade only bonds and mini S&P and leave all the other markets on their own. This is the theoretical performance of my systems on bonds and mini S&P. And also in this case, you can see that the big win, this is only 2020, the big wins were achieved during the crazy markets. Interesting also how the red line, which is the unfiltered portfolio, made even better in that period, and then lost some money at the end of the year. If you know, next slide is the monthly, so it's be easier glance. Okay, you see, actually, it's a very positive year. Is this due to bonds or to mini S&P? Next slide shows the behavior of mini S&P only. And here we have two interesting news. The first is the outstanding performance during the crash. This is really impressive, not because it made well, but as Francesco also mentioned 5 minutes ago, most of mini S&P systems are built on a mean reverting model, a counter trend model, because normally this market goes down and then jumps up, rebounds. During the crash, I, but also Francesco, we were afraid of what we were seeing, and it was really a bet, a challenge to trade buying the bottoms, because those bottoms seems not to exist anymore. The markets were going down and down and down. And obviously, we were too much afraid of jumping in somewhere, expecting or hoping for a rebound before hitting an eventual stop loss. But apparently, this is what happened. What we see here is that our systems were able to spot the best turning points, temporary turning points, during that crazy phase of the markets. Good news for sure for the systems. Good news for our nerds that we switch them off, because probably seeing, and believe me, this performance is not only due to the wide range of movement, but also because many systems were entering together. So we would have had a big size in terms of contracts in the market. And under those conditions, I believe it would have been really harming for our stability, mental stability. In any case, the second interesting thing you can see here, which is the monthly, which is it's the same actually, is that after April, May, more or less, mini S&P systems were no longer able to achieve anything. This is interesting because you see that if I decided to trade only mini S&P after the crisis, I would have made some losses even.
During a strong bull market.
In spite, because the systems don't simply jump in and wait. No, they trade the market, but the moves after the big crash in the index future, the mini S&P, were apparently different from the normality, from the standard behavior. It's like when you get drunk and then it takes a while before you come back to your normal behavior. So I'm happy I did not decide to trade only bonds and mini S&P. This is the good news. I'm happy I traded other markets, also Bitcoin. By the way, some videos on the blog, you find that I mentioned I'm not trading Bitcoin because I had not enough data to build systems. This is an old information because in the meantime, some data were collected and I was able, together with Francesco, to develop some very simple stuff, which in any case works and produces profit. So we are both trading on the Bitcoin future. Francesco also mentioned that the Ethereum future is coming early next year. So something that we will probably look into in a short while. Now, BNSP is not working, apparently. This means that the market is out of phase, but I believe that we will soon see the normal mini S&P back. This happened in early 2009, in 2015, 2018. Many cases we saw mini S&P completely out of shape, but then the normal mini S&P came back. What is good, Francesco had a very good performance, better than mine, but our partnership allowed me to learn a lot about volatility, because Francesco is a real expert in volatility. And thanks to his contribution, I was able to introduce systems that are also taking advantage of volatility increase in mini S&P. Normally, volatility is a trigger to switch systems off, but thanks to knowledge of Francesco, I was able to build some systems which were understanding somehow, or trying to understand, the difference from the standard counter trend behavior of mini S&P and the trend following behavior that takes place when volatility goes to very high levels. And
in abnormal volatility. During abnormal volatility, the behavior of the mini S&Ps changes.
And I was able to develop these systems. I'm happy to have these systems. I didn't trade the systems because they should have traded in the period when I switched everything off, but this is my fault. But in any case, this is more or less the summary. Do you want to add something to this, Francesco?
No, just it has been a very particular financial year. We have seen a drawdown of about 35% on the mini S&P, 50% on the European index, and a negative price for crude oil, VIX at 80, and Bitcoin with a performance of more than 200%. So it is quite satisfying to achieve such performances. So I'm quite happy as Andrea, obviously. And let's see the next year what the market.
I hope they go back to normality, because this would mean that also the
probably.
world will go back to normality after this crazy 2020, obviously. So, I mean, all we can do is to wish everybody a great 2021. If you are a trader, wish great performances, but I wish for everybody is to see a good 2021 compared to 2020. Not a great deal, because it was a terrible year. Everything can only be better. But I really hope to see the world going back to what it was before this terrible period. From my side, best wishes. Francesco, up to you.
Me too. Happy New Year to everyone.
So happy 2021 to everybody, and we keep in touch on our channels. Ciao.
Bye.